Is everybody in? Is everybody in?
Reality definitely feels like it's glitching, and these strange and mysterious videos that shouldn't exist, but they do. Before we begin, be sure to hit that like button now so we don't have to worry about it later. And subscribe if you're ready to see what most ignore. Check this out.
If you're watching this, it means they got me. My dead man switch activated automatically after I missed 2 scheduled check-ins. I had it set up months ago because I knew this day was coming. I did not die by accident. I was murdered to keep their secrets buried. My name is Virginia Louise Giuffre. I was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I survived Little St. James, but survival came at a price. I saw too much, knew too much, and now they've silenced me. But it's too late for them. They thought killing me would bury their secrets. I worked at Mar-a-Lago, folding towels, cleaning lockers. My father kept the tennis courts immaculate. We were just working folks trying to scrape by. Trump, he was around, but he was never the threat. The real predator was Ghislaine Maxwell, prim and proper, smiling, promising to teach me massage therapy at the Pink Mansion in Palm Beach. I had no idea I was being fed into a nightmare machine. Epstein's Island was hell disguised as paradise. You've heard some names linked to him, but those are just the sacrificial pawns. The real players, the ones they've protected at all costs, are still hiding in plain sight.
Roberts Giuffre says she was in high school when Epstein began abusing her. This is her first broadcast interview.
You get the news that Jeffrey Epstein has committed suicide in his jail cell. What did you think?
It was such a shock to me. I mean, when I say shock, I didn't have the words. I was in mourning, not because the world lost a monster.
You weren't mourning him.
I was not mourning him. I wasn't mourning the death of this man. I was mourning the death of my ability to hold this man accountable.
In court filings, Giuffre says Epstein directed her to have sex with several powerful people around him, including Prince Andrew. Like all others she's accused, Prince Andrew has emphatically denied any form of sexual contact or relationship with her. Last month, Giuffre had this message for the prince outside of court.
He knows exactly what he's done, and I hope he comes clean about it.
Giuffre is one of more than 20 accusers who shared their stories in a federal courtroom after Epstein's death. The women are now part of a sisterhood they never asked for. They believe the justice system let them down.
They failed us before. Don't fail us again.
Exactly.
They should follow the law, but let's not get our knickers in a twist here. There's no
let's not
punishment
get our
for this.
knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. Like, it's insane. The Epstein Files
What's
is
insane?
a multinational, multi-generational child and woman sex trafficking ring. So your attitude right now, you're sort of like, well, shucks, devil begun, is just horrifying to me. Every woman in the world that is watching this, why are you acting like you have no idea what's happening here? Scott, this is...
He asked me a question about following the law.
And what
I
I'm
said they
saying
should
to you
follow
is
the
your
law.
attitude. Yeah, and they're not following the law. They're 30 days late on following law, and they didn't explain why they redacted the first things in the first place, which they were also supposed to do.
I know.
Listen,
You
at
have a
this
strong
point, this
opinion
is not...
about it, and
I
I
have a strong
respect that.
opinion about it because it is a
But I think they should-
disgusting
I think they should do it
policy
as
that they are
fast as
doing
they
this.
can.
They are hiding it. It is not the behavior of innocent people, and everything that is in these files is it could bring an entire house down. And if it has to, it has to. If it brings down Democrats, bring them down. If it brings down Republicans, bring them down. If it brings down princes, world leaders, Hollywood people, bring them down. But what it feels like right now is that there's a giant cabal of people that do not have to listen to the law, do not have to oppose the law, and they were supposed to do something, then they didn't do something, and now they're trying to have a new law that says we don't even have to do it.
And what's really...
This has got to be one of the most shocking and disturbing photographs I've ever seen in my entire life. And yes, this appears to be Jeffrey Epstein with a small child. This is what the file that this photograph was found in looks like. For some reason, it has been labeled highly confidential, and you can see the file number and everything in the bottom right. But I don't know exactly what's going on here, but this appears to be Epstein assaulting a child. This does not look like a teenager. This looks like a very, very young girl. And I think that that's something that's a little infuriating for me as someone who has studied the Epstein story and reported on it for years. In the mainstream media, you will hear stories that Epstein only targeted women essentially of legal age. Yeah, they might have been 16 or 17, but They like to call them women. In fact, nobody seems to use proper terminology when referring to the Epstein victims and survivors. And yes, there were women that survived Epstein, women that were a bit older, but most of Epstein's victims were children. And you can clearly see in photos like this that Epstein surrounded himself with kids, even though curiously, he had no offspring of his own. And we don't know who these children are in any of these photos or these videos, but I have never seen this photo on the evening news. I have never seen this photo discussed, and I have to admit, this is one of the most shocking things that I've ever seen that clearly shows that Epstein was targeting very, very young kids. And it's just insane to me to think that people don't even want to admit that there were children and boys that were targeted by Epstein. And I've noticed that a lot of people also don't want to admit to themselves that their hero, the person that they seem to worship, is the one that's practically in charge of the cover-up right now, because he's all over the files. Not just as a witness, as someone who allegedly, according to many different witnesses and accusers, actively participated in Epstein's ring. So I asked for help a few days ago in trying to identify who these children were that were seen in the newest Epstein files, and you guys actually gave me a very good answer. This appears to be Glenn and Eva Dubin. So Glenn Dubin up here is an American billionaire hedge fund manager, and his wife Eva Dubin right here, who used to go by Eva Anderson, according to all reports, dated Jeffrey Epstein from 1981 to 1990, right before he met Ghislaine. So I knew this story and I knew the Dubins, but for some reason I didn't connect the dots. I just didn't recognize them, but this definitely seems to be them in these images. And it's already concerning to see somebody like Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with kids, having kids sit on his lap, playing around with children. But there are so many disturbing, bizarre, and incriminating messages shared between the Dubins and Jeffrey Epstein that will have you shocked, to say the least. For example, here is one of the messages that I found in the exchanges released in the Epstein files. So as you can see here, this is one of the examples that I found. Jeffrey Epstein in August of 2010 sent a message to who I can assume was Eva Dubin, and his email read, "I'm at the ranch blank." Then that same day, just about 2 hours later, Eva wrote Jeffrey Epstein back. And creepily, she said, "Come and visit next week. Selena, their daughter, their very young daughter, will have 5 friends over." So what the hell are we supposed to make of that? So keep in mind, this is in 2010. This is a few years after Jeffrey Epstein was all over the news after being arrested on charges of sexually abusing children. And that's when he had the sweetheart deal in Florida. He had all those court proceedings. He was all over the news. And he was officially a sex offender. I mean, there is no way that one of Epstein's best friends wouldn't have known that he was a pedophile at this point. So not only do these pictures appear to have been taken after Epstein was released from his very, very short stint in prison, but these two definitely knew that Epstein was a pedophile, and yet here they are allowing their child on Epstein's lap. And this one's even more damning. Eva is inviting Epstein over to their place, saying that their young child is going to have 5 friends over, knowing full well that Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile and sex trafficker of children. So, make of all of that what you will. But I have to say, it doesn't look very good on Eva Dubin.
Listen up. So with the Jeffrey Epstein files being released and confirming what we already knew they did to little kids, I want to remind y'all of this document. We all know this document was circulating the internet years ago, and still is. And it's a document about adrenochrome. Representative number 1, production of raw adrenochrome per detention center with average age of detainees. List of detainees used for production, duration of custody, and scheduled disposal date. Then it goes on to state only states suicide attempts. A finished suicide would appear in the disposal report. And then when you further look into this, you start finding all these documents with these people. I mean, there's a long list of them. But that's not what I'm making this video on. I want you to look at the bottom of the document at the address. It says 725 5th Avenue, New York, New York. Who lives at 725 5th Avenue, New York, New York? Well, that's the address to Trump Tower. The more you know.
70s, and I guarantee you that this rabbit hole has depths. It has dirt all over the place. It has famous people. It's got it all. And
Jeffrey Epstein's connection to this world is Peggy Segal.
And if you don't know about Peggy Segal, I'm about to put you on. This is Peggy Segal, well into her 70s. And yes, there are references to what sounds an awful lot like adrenochrome in the Epstein emails. And this is Peggy with Brett Ratner, whole other rabbit hole. There are photos of Peggy with just about every famous person alive. And the reason for that is because Peggy Segal is one of the most famous and powerful publicists in the world. She's the Hollywood connector. She's the woman that throws all the parties for all the movie premieres. And Peggy was Epstein's direct line of access into this entire world. And she's got some lies to answer for now that the new emails are out. So back in 2019, when the whole first Epstein story broke, Peggy got super blacklisted immediately. No one worked with her. Everyone cut her off. She whined about it. I've always suspected, and I made content about this years ago, I think that she got blacklisted because they were scared that if people start looking at Peggy, they're going to start looking at her book of contacts, and they're going to start looking at her relationship to Jeffrey a little too closely because there's a lot there. So here's the reporting from back then and all the lies she told. Her staff described a symbiotic relationship wherein Segal would receive gifts from Epstein, including travel expenses, and that at times she kept her studio clients in the dark about how she would bring him to the party. But she insisted through a spokesperson that her financial arrangements and everything ended by 2010 when Epstein was released from prison. Peggy is known for her list. All these important people, voting members of the Academy, New York socialites, influential motherfuckers, Hamptonites, downtown crowd, media figures, the club. She brags that her list is 30,000 contacts long. 30,000 of the most important club members, connected elites, that she'll be inviting to these parties that Jeffrey Epstein will be attending and schmoozing at. Also, early life check because it's Hollywood. But of course, if you've seen the email releases, you didn't need the early life check because you would have read her and Jeffrey talking like this. Jeffrey's hosting a Yom Kippur redemption party, asking her for advice of who to bring. She responds, "Is it going to be 100% Jew night? Even Perelman on Yum Yum has some goyim. I'm getting my media elite list FedExed out for Saturday and we'll email some names. What about Jane Fonda, my new best friend? Nothing like an ex-Jew hater with a Jewish boyfriend to mix it up. Peg." Huh. Who else uses the term Jew hater all the time? It's almost like all the Zionists think in the exact same way as these people. Jeffrey responded, "No, goyim in abundance. JP Morgan execs, brilliant wasps. Because the dirty goyim will be at the party because you got to extort the dirty goyim." Anyways, back in the day, Peggy's assistants told The Hollywood Reporter that, quote, "He was always calling her and trying to hang out with her," another former staffer explained. "He wanted to go to every party. When he was in town, she made a point of inviting him to things, noting that when he wasn't, including during his house arrest in Palm Beach, Peggy would send him screeners and keep him in the loop. Peggy was his connection to the entertainment world." Consider that a massive understatement. This staffer overheard Segal talking on the phone with Epstein. Peggy is like, "You're not dating anyone, right?" And he's like, "Well, I am, but you know, she's very young." And Peggy's like, "Stop it, stop." Because if she's a goyim, who cares if she's young, right, Peggy? Peggy got very famous because she threw the 2011 get out of jail party for Epstein, where Prince Andrew attended, along with Katie Couric, George Stephanopoulos, Chelsea Handler. I'm pretty sure that Woody Allen was there. But Peggy thought, quote, "He said he'd served his time and assured me that he'd changed his ways."
I wasn't allowed to go get food. And when I called Ghislaine and asked why I couldn't eat there, she said, "It's a Jewish country club. You're not Jewish. They're not going to serve you." This is how this woman spoke to me. Yeah, this is how these people think, Whitney. They, honest to God, think their DNA is better than everybody else's. I swear to you. It was a theme all the time with them. With Eileen Guggenheim, with, Jeffrey Epstein, with Ghislaine. It was a theme. Jeffrey was a lot less horrible than Ghislaine as far as a human being, like just being around, because she was raping just as many children.
So the country club, you weren't allowed to go because it was only for, people of a certain religion
Jewish
and
people.
Ethnicity. Okay, so
Religious.
that's unfortunate.
I mean, they could cut you down, and it was so morally devastating. You just felt useless as a human being when you were told you're nothing because you're not Jewish, you're stupid, you're useless, a useless white girl, a poor little peasant. Just the things that I was called, I was just like, I believed it, because it was like a cult, the problem. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the way Jeffrey and Ghislaine spoke about African Americans. It was like, it made my skin crawl. Anybody who was not Jewish, and you're right about this, but the way they spoke about them, it was really horrifying. And it showed me a great deal about how these people truly believe that they're chosen to do something here. I don't know. It's unbelievable to me. I mean, and it was every one of them, the way they spoke. And one time I heard Isabel say to her mother, Eileen, "Mommy, why do you call Maria a nobody?" And she said, "Honey, Isabel, Maria is not a Jew. She is a nobody."
What's it called? Chabad Lubavitch. And group openly talks about how only Jews are human and the rest of human beings are like cattle, basically.
In 1974, something impossible happens. Jeffrey Epstein, a college dropout with 0 teaching credentials, no degree, no certifications, nothing, somehow walks into one of the most elite private schools in America, the Dalton School, and gets hired to teach math and physics. No resume, no background, no reason to be there. So ask yourself, who opens a door like that? And why? Because the moment you dig even one layer deeper, the story stops being a coincidence. Just before Epstein arrives, Dalton's headmaster, Donald Barr, abruptly resigns. And 1 year before that, Barr writes a sci-fi novel called Space Relations, about a ruling elite on a distant planet who keep children as sex. That's not a rumor. It's a book. You can still buy it today. A novel describing the same themes Epstein would later be accused of in real life, written years before anyone knew his name. Is that prediction or preparation? Because Donald Barr wasn't just a school administrator. He was OSS, the precursor to the CIA, a man inside the intelligence world, a man positioned to place someone exactly where they needed to be. And look at the network that forms around him. His son William Barr becomes U.S. Attorney General. His other son rises in elite scientific organizations. In 1983, Ronald Reagan personally appoints Donald Barr to a National Research Council. Education, intelligence, government, science, power. Different pieces, same board. So here's the real question. If this was random, why does it line up like a script? If this was just hiring a teacher, why does it read like recruitment? If this was coincidence, then why does it feel like a blueprint? Sometimes the story doesn't need proof to be terrifying. Sometimes the pattern is the evidence.
They don't define children the way you do. They don't define the world the way you do. The choices that you face are not their choices, right? They look at it completely differently. And I said, well, okay, so how do they look at it? And he said, for them, everything is defined by their one fundamental, all-consuming purpose. I said, which is what? He said, to defeat God, right? Because this is the moment. I mean, for them, it's about the real God. The true gods are them and Satan, there, right? And so he said, children are the closest thing on earth to God, because we are created in the image of God. And as you know, from the moment we're created, we haven't had time to be corrupted and to stray. So for them, the younger you are, the closer you are to God, the more pain they can inflict on God. So the more you can make a baby or a small child suffer, the greater your victory over God. And that is the only consideration for them.